Okay. All right, everyone, welcome to our presentation tonight. We're changing the pace up a little bit. If you've been with us a few weeks ago, you've been through our grant writing series, and now we're going to talk about fundraising. So tonight it's myself and Linda K. Briggs, mostly Linda K., a little bit of me, but we're excited to help you get the tools in your toolkit to ask for money for your, causes, your business, your nonprofit, whatever you'd like. So we also have a little housekeeping. We have some handouts. So hopefully you have handouts. If not, Linda and I can pass them around. On your table, you also have QR codes. So if you'd like to follow along on your phone with the presentation, we will have some live voting opportunities through what we call Mentimeter. And we'll also have some good round robin conversation as we go through introductions. All right, let's kick this off. All right, so you've heard about us. I'm Angela, and this is Linda K. Briggs. We're your presenters tonight, and we're going to take a few minutes to go around the table and get to know who you are. And Linda K. has some questions for you. Linda K., do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, let me do that. And I'll introduce myself a little later after I get to know you, I suppose. First of all, I want you to know I don't have a cold. I don't have COVID. I don't have the flu. I have shots for all those things. But about 2 hours ago, I just started sneezing. So I took some nasal spray, and hopefully it won't be a problem. But allergic to the building. I don't know, something in the air. I love Federal Way, so that can't be it. So anyway. Before I share some best practices with you, and I'm very, very thrilled to be here, I'd like us all to go around the room, and then I'll tell you a little bit about my background. And I'd like to know, of course, your name, and where you work, and how long you've worked there, and what is your responsibility at your work. Is there a little bit of fundraising? Is there a lot of fundraising? What is it in your job responsibility that has you here tonight? What is it about your job? So please, begin.
Hi, everyone. My name's Janine Pham, and I am here because I started what's called the Center for Writing Therapy. But I've been involved with a lot of different nonprofit groups. One is against child trafficking, one is Concerned United Birth Parents, another is Adoption, Truth, and Transparency. And so I really believe in all of their causes and things like that. So I'd like to maybe help get some funding for these good causes.
Sure. Nice to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Barb Cieslag. I'm on the Federal Way Symphony Board. Jerry and I both are, and we're co-procurement directors. By default.
Procurement directors for who?
Federal Way Symphony.
For the West Symphony?
Federal Way.
Oh, Federal Way Symphony.
Sorry.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, we just had our big fundraising gala, annual gala, and we raised the most we'd raised in about 5 or 6 years. So that's pretty good.
How much did you raise?
I think it was
About 43,000.
Yeah, about 43. Yeah.
Fabulous. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. I think
Yeah.
there might be one or two things you might
Hopefully.
learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. How long have you been at
I've been on the
Symphony?
board now for 2 years, but I worked in human resources for 40 years almost. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
2 years, Barb. Are you a staff person of the
No, we're volunteer.
You're volunteers.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're board members that are all volunteer. We only have a couple of paid positions in the whole symphony, which is
Well,
the conductor and
Just
the
God bless you is
office
what I'm
manager.
saying, as
Yeah.
volunteers. Yeah, that's great. Okay.
Well, that said it all.
Except your name,
Let me look. What am I? So I'm Jerry Workland,
Jerry.
another co-procurement person, again by default. So I was involved with Susan G. Komen for almost 25 years as a volunteer.
Oh, wow.
So I've done galas, I've done fundraising, you name it. And so I didn't really want to do anything more. And again, by default, yeah. So we're excited about the symphony part because we were just so amazed at how many people. Do you guys know that we have a symphony here in Federal Way? Have you been there? Okay, come at Christmas too. That don't know that we have a symphony. So we're trying to, recoup from COVID, basically.
Yeah. How long have you been at the symphony?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, great. Thank you. Nice to have you both here.
I'm Mimi Meeker. I guess I say I'm a professional volunteer. I have about 7 different groups: Seroptimus, Open Doors Sharing Closet at Wayside. I can't think of the other one. The Diaper Bank, Babies and Beyond. Some of them I serve as a board member, some of them I serve as a volunteer. Seroptimus just had their fundraiser, and we didn't raise anywhere near $43,000. And I think the big thing we learned is we have too few people who want to be involved, and it all falls on the same 2 or 3 people, and you get wiped out.
That doesn't
Yeah.
sustain you. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm here learning. I don't remember if I said Federal Way Pride, but they've got an event in Halloween that I'd like to know how to promote better.
Okay. So you're like the fairy godmother to about 7 of these, are you?
I guess so.
It's nice to have you here. Hopefully you'll be able to help those 7, right?
My name is Lori Vanderus, and I'm the Executive Director of Audiobook Ministries, and we provide Christian literature for people that are blind and disabled that can't read literature normally, but if they can't turn a page of a book, they qualify for our services if they're blind or visually impaired. I've been the Executive Director for 2 years, but I've been with the company for 10. We only have 3 staff members.
Wonderful.
We have 1,300 patrons all over the country.
Wow.
And 3,000 books already narrated.
Marvelous.
So, but I don't know how to fundraise.
Well, stick around. Stick around, maybe. Nice to have you, Lori. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. My name is Stacy Mendoza. I actually work for Kaiser Permanente in the IT department.
Those are my people, Kaiser,
Oh,
just
awesome.
so you know.
Very
I love
good.
them. Yeah.
But I'm actually here because I'm on the board of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul, and we always have a great need to help people in the community, and we're always short of funds, but great in need. So I'm excited to learn what you have to share today.
Well, it's wonderful of you as a volunteer to be here when you have that other full-time job you're working on. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
So my name is John Wright, and I'm the president of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul at St. Vincent de Paul Parish. I have been in the position as president for the last year. I've been with the society for probably 2.5 years. But we're in the process right now of putting together our annual report for last year, because our fiscal year ended in September 30th. And it turns out that we distributed to needy about $65,000, but that primarily came from parishioners, donations.
Yeah.
So, but we can only give for a very small number of households.
Yeah.
You give $400 to 2 households per week.
Yeah.
And the list
Doesn't
is
stretch that.
the list is
Yeah.
monumental.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
So if there's some way that we can get more money, we just attended that session, and fundraising is another option. So.
Well, lucky for all of you, I have a joy about fundraising, so I am going to share it with you. First of all, thank you very much for spending dinner time with me. I don't know if you've had dinner. You're going to have dinner later. You have Reese's peanut butter cup, so that's a good, healthy dinner for now, right? But thank you, Federal Way, for giving us candy. So why am I a consultant for fundraising? How did I get here? It was not by my design. I have a belief, I am a believer, and so just kind of laid out for me. I had no idea. I'm not one of those people that said, I want to be an entrepreneur. No, I did not say that. I liked being an employee. I was a banker for 15 years, so finance, IT were what I grew up with in retail banking, and then all of a sudden I had a child, and all of a sudden I didn't want to make the stockbroker or the corporate shareholder any richer. There just happens a lot with women in their 30s, right? We grow up and think we need more meaningful purpose rather than making somebody richer with no nonprofit feel to it at all. So I went into United Way. Have you heard of United Way? I worked there for about 8 years. I was in marketing. I just loved it. And the president said, well, you need to be a fundraiser. And I said, oh, no. I really like marketing. I love it. I have my little committee here. We do great work. He goes, yeah, it's really not a question. If you want to stay to work here, we need you to go here. Voluntold, like some of you have been, So I started fundraising for United Way. And if you're familiar with them, right, they do workplace campaigns and you do some speaking, but it's really not one-on-one, right? It's a bigger group. And I was tapped on the shoulder after about 8 years and was hired at Multicare. You've probably heard of them, maybe. So at that time, there were about 3 foundations. Now there's 8. But when I was around, I was hired for the Multicare Health Foundation, which raised money for adults. Mary Bridge was the pediatric side, right? And Multicare was the adult side. I was there about 10 years. It's where I learned the good, the bad, and the ugly about fundraising. It's where I cut my teeth. I loved it. I thought I was going to bleed Multicare blue the rest of my days. But no. Leadership changed after 10 years, and I just needed to go and had no idea what I was going to do. People were worried about me. Like, do you have enough in savings? You're kind of old to just be quitting your job. I said, no, I have friends that cook. They'll cook for me. I'll have leftovers. Don't worry about me. And as luck would have it, the very first client I had was United Way. They wanted me to come back and work for them, and I said no. And could you be interim? No. Well, could you be our consultant? Okay, not knowing what that meant. And that was about 10 years ago. So this is my 10th year as a consultant, so I feel good because normally we don't last more than 5 years if you're an independent. I have 4 contracted people who are not my employees, they're private contractors, and I bring them in, kind of like Angela brings me in. So we have a marketing person, a graphic artist, an admin, and me. So we have a steady client, about 8 clients all year long. We do lots of things. So what I'm going to bring you tonight is a culmination of all of that. I'm kind of an everyday gal with everyday language, so we're not going to go into the 3 syllables of what's important, because a lot of us don't have that background. And so we're just going to talk like this, which is why I'm not standing up there, because I have to be with the people. I can't be anywhere else. So the name of the game tonight for me is one, when I ask you to engage, do that. It'll be helpful to you, I promise. It's the best way to learn is to do. And the other thing is, if you don't understand something I'm saying, or the concept just isn't clicking, then stop me. Because it makes perfect sense to me, but that doesn't make any difference. It needs to make sense to you. So just stop me. And we'll reframe it a different way, all right? And you can interrupt me anytime, absolutely anytime. Just give me a hand and let me know. Please go what you need to do if you need to go, so to speak. You don't need to stop what we're doing. Any questions before I begin at all? You good? You ready to learn? Now, I will tell you that my favorite book in fundraising, and I have a lot of them, is this one, Boards on Fire. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called Boards on Fire, Inspiring Leaders to Raise Money Joyfully. And I know that raising money and joyfully are not usually in the same sentence, but it's true. This book is, and look at it, look how many white spaces. See how they're so easy to read? Mine is pretty ragged. You can see the yellows and the stickies. But you could sit down and read this in 45 minutes, and you will learn. It's basically a book that outlines in 11 barriers for a board member to be on fire about joyfully fundraising. The wonderful leverage point for you, now that I know what you do, is we don't have to talk about a board member. You can talk about staff, you can talk about a donor, because there's lots of real life examples in here that are tried and true, I know, because I raised millions at Multicare, right? Not myself, but me and my team, right? Like our goal for the, we'll talk a little bit about that, but we built new ERs for the adult side and Mary Bridge side back in the early 2000s. Our goal was 20 million, we raised 30. Who knew that people wanted an emergency room with not right next to a baby, maybe next to an adult? So we built 2 ERs. So there's stories in here that are real. I'm going to add a few for you. If I was going to write a book, it'd be like this. I might be funnier. I don't know. little smart alecky maybe, I don't know. But it's a really good book. It's written by Susan Howlett, Howlett. It's on Amazon. Although if you buy some, let's say you want to buy some for your board, go to her website. They're cheaper than Amazon. And the more you buy, the more increase of a savings you have.
Pronounce that again.
Howlett, Howlett. Susan. She's retired now, but she's still selling her books. And I pretty much teach all the time from this book. There's always things I'm teaching boards all over Pierce County right now, and so there's quite a few of them there. So,
Are you able to log in at menti.com? Do you see anything? No? Yeah, oh, we got one. So we got a nonprofit. Yay! Thank you, Lori, too. Okay. We love it when technology works. And they'll probably be in these a couple lanes. So also, I think when you see these slides, you can probably see some of the responses as we go. So we'll go through. We have another question here. Linda Kay already answered or asked this question, but how you can rate it. Like, how much fundraising experience do you have? And nobody's grading, so you can answer however you like or choose not to. Look at that. If you answered some or a lot, how did you fundraise? This is free text, so you can type in whatever word you want. Some people, maybe they mailed a letter, they had a gala, they asked for money. Car wash, sketty feed.
a gala.
Yeah, gala. Oh, golf tournament, that's a good one. Some people we know recently, organizations have done like some fun runs, some relays, bake sales. I mean, whatever you like. Ooh, that's good. Easter and end of year giving letters. Perfect. All right, so we're gonna catch back up with Linda Kay now. No more sneaky slides in there that she hasn't. We're surprising you. So this is about getting ready for funding. So here, what I wanted to do, just to kind of set the intention before we dive into Linda Kay's portion, is we're going to talk about this throughout our next several learning sessions together, but you need to understand what your statement is, and that could be your need statement if you're a nonprofit, or business, and or your strategic plan. So we're going to have some grounding documents there. Also outline your funding needs. What will the fund support? So we're going to be talking about that as we go through today. And we're going to think about how much do you need, right? And if you have crunchy numbers, like crunch those numbers, prepare your financial statements and forecasts, right? If you don't know yet, we'll get there. Also, map out your stage. So if you're a young nonprofit, maybe you're just starting up, or you're a young business, like where are you in as an organization or an individual or nonprofit, and outline your timeline. So where would you like to be? Okay, Linda Kay.
Okay. Well, that was fun. Prizes are good. They're good. All right. So on the name of this one, of course, is Fundraising Basics and Strategies, right? And there are 4 elements that we're going to go through together tonight. One is the revenue pie. We'll talk about that in a minute. The 3 A's with form ups and impact message. Third, donor-centered, 7 types of donors. And fourth, who makes the ask. So that's the order we're going to go in. And I really like that you have the handouts, because then you can take notes on the pages that are most meaningful to you. I know that's the way I like to do it too. So let's talk about the revenue pie. How many have ever seen a revenue pie? You ever seen one of these before? This one right here? Yeah. This is the ideal. This is an A+ development looking department, right? And it is not realistic for most people, especially smaller nonprofits. But this is the goal, right? The goal is to diversify your revenue stream. As we heard tonight, even there's a couple of people we keep going back to, and that's not how fundraising systematically is supposed to be, right? To keep it sustainable, you want a variety of revenues. So let's talk about those. This goes for a church. This goes for gay pride. This goes for a symphony. This goes for St. Vincent de Paul. By the way, there's a lovely one in Tacoma. I happen to know the executive director there, and she's a lovely person. Yeah, she's a Rotary person with me. I have some of my clothes at St. Vincent de Paul, matter of fact. Wanted to say that to you. So this could be for any organization at all. One of them is major gifts. And that one, of course, is the biggest piece of the pie there. That's when you ask another individual, eye to eye, for a gift. It doesn't mean you wrote them a letter. It could mean they're at a gala and they give you a major gift size gift. But you as an organization get to decide, what is a major gift level? Is it $500 for you? Is that a major donor? Or is a major donor $1,000, right? To United Way, a major donor is $500. To Multicare, it's $5,000. So it just depends on the size of the organization and what your donor base looks like, right? And we all have donor bases, don't we? We like them bigger, but we all have them. What do we have, 1,300 donors, right, for your biblical audiobooks? That's fabulous. All right, so that's major gifts, right? The next part of the revenue wheel is the annual fund, and that's what a lot of nonprofits do that are smaller or startup. They write a letter. It's like a letter campaign, and you write a letter to someone, and you call them to action by sharing a cause that is hopefully compelling. You and I get them all the time in the mail. We look at who they're from and they go, I know what that says, I know what that says, I know what that says. So there are tools of how you can create where they don't put them in the recycle bin. Right? A lot of mine go in the recycle bin. Some people complain, if I give one gift, then they besiege me with 4 more. So what's one of the things I'm going to tell you? I'm going to tell you don't do more than 2 or 3 a year. Because this is what they do. Again. Oh, again. Because they think you're asking all the time. And nobody wants to be asked every time there's any kind of relationship. And we'll talk about that later, right? You don't like that either. So we're going to talk a bit about that. The next one, here's the gala. Here's the event people. We're going to talk about them later. It's always fun with event people. Those are the people who care about what they're wearing. You know, if they're getting a new dress for the gala, what's going on. I can't wait to talk about those people. I love them. But event income, I mean, if it were up to nonprofits, you would never have an event because the ROI is horrible. And you know that, right? You don't make very much. You make money, the most money, return on investment when one person gives you a check and you're only paying for you, the staff time, right? In an event, you're already at the red end before you even start. And you know that. The next area, a little bit bigger than events and usually a little bigger than annual fund if it's successful, is grants. Those can be federal, state, county, city. They can be any type of grant. It can be a private family foundation. We count those under grants. If you're not familiar with your local family foundations, there is a gold mine there. There is a gold mine. For example, there are probably 10 or 12 in Pierce County, and once in a while they will give money to Federal Way. That's not that far away for them. But there must be some in Federal Way. Does anybody work with a family foundation now in Federal Way that's a donor of yours? It'd be good to look up family foundations and see if any housed in Federal Way. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a wonderful way to have a relationship with that donor. It's just like a one-on-one relationship. And then next is planned giving. How many of you have a planned giving program? Okay, and that would be correct. It's not really what you start out with, but this is when someone loves a symphony so much that you have a legacy form and they tell you, when I go, I want $10,000 to go to the symphony.
They probably have some that we don't know.
And that is one of the gold opportunities for you. If you have that donor that says, I just love you guys. I go to every event. I buy every book. I come in and donate. Those are the people that are perfectly suited to become legacy donors, but you have to be on the proactive side. You can't be just reactive when someone gives you an estate gift, right? If you want to be a successful fundraiser, you have to be proactive. And there are people that will help you. For example, Free Will. Right? Free Will is a software program. It's a little expensive, so you have to maybe partner with some people or carve out that money to get it. But here's what they do. They send you marketing emails. They write them for you. They almost send them to you. I mean, they are just really, they teach you how to fish in planned giving is the best way I can say. So I would absolutely look up Free Will. Almost every one of my clients is using Free Will. It's that easy. And for fun, go on yourself and type it up. Like you're going to do a will, pretend like you're just one of your donors and don't know anything, easy peasy. Anybody with any technology, a little bit of knowledge can figure it out. It's pretty easy. Yeah.
So the major gift and the planned giving are not necessarily, because like we were donated the proceeds to the sale of a house.
Okay.
Is that a major gift or is that a plan?
It's both. So the major gift is a certain dollar amount, and it's usually one-on-one, but it could include a planned gift,
Okay.
right? And it depends, too, how your organization does the revenue. So if I went to your gala and gave $5,000, but I also gave you a separate gift of $2,000, I'd be both, right? I'd be an event donor and I'd be a major gift donor. And then if I left you in my estate, whoop, whoop, I'd be a plan giver.
I'd be at your house.
Yeah. We'd be having lunch monthly, wouldn't we? Yeah, yeah. So this is a really, I think, easy to understand what the goal is, right? When you have a balanced revenue, functioning fundraising department, this is what it looks like. Now, for University of Washington or Multicare or Swedish, there are hundreds of people on each one of these, but it doesn't have to be successful. If you've got dedicated people to do each one of these revenue pieces, or maybe one does two, it's good. It's diversifying your revenue, because you know what happens when you depend on one or two, you don't grow. Yeah, Mimi?
Memberships, would those count under planned giving or an annual fund or?
Memberships like a recognition membership?
No,
or-
like,
They belong
for,
to a-
for Optimates, we pay dues because we have to pay for 2 people to go to conferences, regardless of whether we actually send physical people or not.
Right.
So like our dues for Sir Optimus are $180 a year from 15 people.
Okay.
But I don't think we're effectively investing that.
So you can put them where you want them.
Okay.
Right? You get to decide when you do the fundraising books where you store a donor's revenue.
Okay.
If you want to count Susie in events because she always comes to the gala, then put her in events. It doesn't mean she doesn't make major gifts. It doesn't mean she's not in planned giving. But what matters is how you sustain that relationship. Is it only through events? She doesn't want to talk to you. She doesn't want to meet for coffee. She just wants to come to the gala. Then she's an event donor, right? If someone is leaving you in a state and say, don't call me anymore, you're already getting some when I die. I don't want to talk to you. And that's donors' true stories, right? If a major gift donor could say, yeah, come and see me once a quarter. Let me know what's going on with the symphony. I'm excited about it. So they get to define where they are and how you relationship with them defines it for you. Okay, that kind of makes the roundabout makes sense. Okay, let's talk about the 3 A's. This is one of my favorite parts because you always start with an A, is what I say. Now, it's sometimes these fundraising roles, so I want you to be able to shift your thinking a bit, can be for a board member, because this is good that we have this mix tonight, because we have board members, we have volunteers, we have staff. So these 3 A's that we're going to talk about tonight, applicable to all of those. Anybody in the role of helping with fundraising or functioning can apply these 3 A's, okay? Including, by the way, sponsorship and vendors, right? They're a part of our team. Our sponsorships and our vendor people. Yeah. So let's do the first one. Yeah. Okay. The first one is act as an advocate. Well, that seems pretty silly. Like, of course, we're going to be an advocate. But there's a way you can be an advocate that maybe you haven't thought of before. So I am going to give you something that I think will help you. So normally, this is a workshop that I do, but we're going to do it together. All right? We're going to do it together, because we have a lot to go over. We just want to tell you as much as we can tell you. Share as much as we can. Besides, you're already A students because you want to learn. I'm just happy that you're here. Okay. Now, you've heard of the elevator speech, right? That old elevator speech? Well, that's kind of passé. We don't call them that anymore. We call them the 3-minute impact message. Right? Words count the way that we say them, so it's not a speech. And when I'm talking about an impact message, I'm talking about someone that says to you, so what about St. Vincent de Paul? Why do you spend so much time there? I only want to hear about 3 minutes worth. I don't want to hear 15 minutes worth. And there's what I want to hear has to be compelling to me. right? So here's how we do it. It's 3 parts. When someone asks you this question, remember, this is not someone asking you for a gift. This is giving you an impact message when someone asks you about your organization. The first thing we do is we talk about the urgent need. And what that means is, what is the relevancy of your organization? What is an urgent need that is apparent in your organization that you really need? Like, we are behind in revenue. We don't have a symphony until December, and we are really, really upset about, or we're really in need of this problem. And we've got orchestra people that need to be paid, yabba dabba dabba, whatever that might be, right? So, I mean, you can probably count the number of times that you've talked about your organization, so I don't need to help you define that. But what I want to help you define is when you want to get in and out of a conversation that excites them later. That excites them later to come back to you to ask you more questions, okay? You can teach your board this, you can teach your staff this, you can teach your volunteers. Everybody kind of already does it, but they're sloppy. No offense. They're sloppy and long. So this is a kind of a recipe, if you will, for every time making it on the mark. And this is what you do. You define what the urgent need is, and in your organization there might be 3 or 4 or 5 of them, but pick one. Just pick one. Don't give it the whole menu, just one. Then the next thing you do is you talk about your organization's role in solving that need, right? We need some activity between now and December for our symphony. And your solution is, well, the symphony is working hard on, I'm just going to make this up, some door-to-door bell ringing to see if people will be interested in supporting the symphony. Right? There's a need, there's a solution that the organization's doing, and the third part is taking it to heart. And what that means is, why are you involved? And I want you to use, we're going to go around and experiment a little bit. I want you to tell me why with an emotional words like disheartening, or I'm so excited, or I'm happy, or this gives my heart purpose, or what is it about it? Why are you involved? Why is it relevant? Because everybody wants to be compelled by what you say. So if you don't use emotional words about why you're involved, then people aren't going to be compelled to hear about it. So let's experiment together as a group. Like, what could be a need? I'll take a volunteer. Take a need that's in your organization right now that means something to you, right? It has to be meaningful to you. John?
Rental assistance for the community. Huge, huge need.
Okay.
Costs of
I like it.
housing.
Okay. We all know it, right? So that's something common that a lot of people would know. It's nice when you can be relevant in a bigger topic too, right? All right. And what is St. Vincent de Paul doing about it? How are you solving that need?
We provide $400 to 2 households per week.
Fabulous.
And the need is tremendous. You know,
Okay.
people aren't looking for $400. They're looking for $3,500,
Yeah.
$7,000, $11,000. you know.
Okay, so you've got me on the need now, John, and you've got me on a solution. That's pretty impressive, right, ladies? Pretty impressive. Now tell me why it's relevant to you. What is it about it that just speaks to you emotionally?
Helping our neighbors. There's probably more, but that's what comes to mind right
Yep.
now.
It's all good. Helping your neighbor is an emotional statement.
Right.
Yeah, all right. Who else would like to try one? Let's do another one. Let's do Lori. Pass the mic to Lori. See, I knew you were bright students. You got this right away. Yeah, okay.
Providing Christian literature for people that are blind and disabled. A lot of times at the library, you don't have a lot of audio Christian literature out there.
Yep.
So we provide that to our patrons all over the country. And I'm doing this because it's a legacy. My dad was the executive director before me, and he's since passed away. And to me, it's a way to stay connected to him. So.
Well, that's pretty lovely. Do you see that was 3 minutes? What she did not do is talk for so long that my eyes got glassy, and I was thinking about what I need at the grocery store. Have you been with those people? You start asking how you involved with the symphony, and 10 minutes later you go, oh, I'm so sorry I asked that question. This is what, excellent job. This is what happens. This is exactly what happens. Anybody else want to try? Want to try off the cuff? If you can do it off the cuff, you can do it as it gets better and evolves, I'll tell you. So if you want to try, try. You're among friends here.
Well, oh, great. Well, one of the programs that we've been really working on is reaching out into the schools. And so we're trying to put together funding to help support the master classes that we're running at the Federal Way High School.
What's the need?
Well, we need money to pay for the musicians because they're going to be paid to go and teach. And they're actually teachers that are musicians already. Professional musicians are teachers, and so they have the skill set they need to help teach these kids to be able to perform to a higher level at the school. So they're going to go out and actually perform their music for them and teach them how to play it better.
So the need is that kids in high school don't have access to
They don't have enough access to music
Okay.
education, yeah. So we work on that.
Because it used to be in the schools
Right.
that we would teach them. They could rent a
Right.
clarinet and we could play,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore. So the
So
need
we're-
is we want to give these kids.
Yeah, so we're working with the music teachers, the band teacher, even the choral teacher, and helping them
Good.
teach a class and learn new music and see what they can do if they take it to the level like our musicians have. They can
Okay.
do something with it if they want. If that's what turns them on in life, they can be musicians and make a living at it.
So why is that meaningful to you?
I guess because I'm a music major from school myself, and music turns me on.
Okay.
Yeah.
There it is. Music turns her on. Yeah. Because people want to know why. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
People want to know why you're involved, right? And I immediately felt it's the right thing to do because I want to help my neighbor, right? We were compelled by that. I'm compelled about her late father. I'm sorry. A legacy of helping people that can't help themselves, and so they need help. And then kids, I've had music in my heart for a long time, and I want other kids to feel it. So I would encourage you, my friends, that you practice this, that you come up with a couple of them for yourself, right? For your board members, do this as a board exercise or a staff exercise. One of the things that I do is I'll break off in twos. We didn't do it tonight, but we'll break off in twos, and you can verbally talk to each other. Okay, what do you think? What do you think? Then you kind of exchange ideas. And then you take another 5 minutes and say, what are the words, the kind of the language of the words that we like to use with our organization? What are they, right? So you just kind of experiment with that a little bit. And then everybody writes one, and then you read them. Because what'll happen is you'll use them more than for your organization. You might use it for your church. You might use it for some other volunteer job you're doing, which you're all doing now, but other types of places. And it will evolve and get better. And you'll have different ones for different groups of people. So the smarter and the more context that you can give it, it's right here in best practices, the more context and succinct you can be, the better. Because that's what a potential donor wants to hear. They don't want to hear a litany of what you do. They can read a brochure that says that. The reason they want to hear from you is because you're telling me why it's compelling. You're inviting me into your feelings. And when you do that, a potential donor is listening. Don't give me a commercial, because I'll become bored. And donors don't tell you that like, is that it? Because you're in 6 minutes now, you're talking about the symphony. But you know what I mean? This is how it works. Okay. So let's move on to our A's. Good job, class. Good job. You know, many people can't do it that quick. And 3 of you did it, which is terrific. Understand the full scope of your vision and mission. So what that means is you know what the words are, right, for your organization, but how do you represent it? Do you verbally represent it? Do you walk the talk in a way? How do you think you do that? How do you represent? For example, what is one of your vision or mission statements? Can anybody tell me what your vision or mission is?
Leverage our community by inspiring a passion for music across generations through distinctive live performances and education.
That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I didn't write it.
Yeah. One of the things that you, as an advocate, if you remember, fundraising is a team sport, right? We saw by the revenue wheel. The vision and the mission, no matter how big or how small, has to be in pieces where you can talk about it. Not sit on a shelf and just sit there because it sounds pretty. So we oftentimes, what this author will tell you is that every year you should look at it and be sure that everybody that's involved with it buys off on it still. Because sometimes we have people who are heady, who want the 3-syllable words in every vision mission statement. And we have other organizations that go, let's just say we feed kids. Right? You kind of see the difference. We help the blind, right? Or assisted blind or whatever. So sometimes the shorter, the more powerful. Not always. But if you have a chance to influence the vision and the mission, if you want people to be your advocate, you have to make it real life for them. And not something that they can't remember. That's the piece. Even if they could get like a few words would be good. But many people can't do it off the top of their head. And that's not a criticism. That's the norm. So more and more we're doing
It's
it.
like the old adage, like KISS, keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Because people, they miss so much on the long end because it's almost like a Far Side commercial.
Right.
Where the man is talking to his dog and he goes, Rover, you're the best dog ever. And you're so cool and you're so beautiful. And the dog looks up and blah, 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 Rover, blah, 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 Rover. You know, and it's true.
Yeah. And it's true about the vision and the mission. So if you can go back and influence anybody, talk about that a little bit, because it's hard to be an advocate if you can't remember it or it's not meaningful to you. So that's just one of those pieces. The other thing on advocate is understand why you give and support, make it personal and share it. We just did that a little bit, right? It has to be personal. If it's not personal for you as a fundraiser, how on earth would we expect a donor to feel it? You know what? And you've had those people, yeah, it's a really important cause. Thanks for helping me. And you just know their heart's not in it. And why would you give money to that person? You would not, because we give money to people for a cause, but we give it to people. And if the person doesn't seem authentic to you, then they don't deserve your money. They don't deserve your giving, right? They need to change. And it happens all the time. The more authentic you are, the more believable I'm going to be with you. And by the way, fundraisers ask for a gift. We'll talk more about this later, but it's a sustainable relationship. So if you're not authentic in the beginning, how are we going to be a friendship? How are we going to have a relationship? So I always say, when one fundraiser has kind of a goofy laugh and the other one, you know, is a little immature, or the next one's a little more mature, it's okay as long as he's authentic or she's authentic with their donors. You can be who you want to be, right? You just have to be authentic. So that's really, really important. And I don't know about you, but I've met many people who are not authentic when they ask for money. They just say the words. And I don't hear any words like, well, because we're supposed to help people, or a legacy word, right? Or I want kids to have that feeling I had about music, right? Those are authentic feelings. Those are authentic feelings. Okay, let's talk about ambassador then, shall we? This is the 2A's. We've been through 1A, 2A as an ambassador. So as an ambassador, right, this could be you, this could be a board member, this could be a staff member. Promote giving and connecting donor prospects. So part of our job is connecting potential donors to the organization. And this is what we do. This is how we do it. We invite guests to events or office gatherings, right? And we introduce them to the staff in addition to you, right? It's never a one-person show. So the more people that you can introduce this potential donor to in your organization, the better. The better, right? It's better. In other words, invite the whole board to engage, not just the chair of the board, not just the executive committee to make calls, everybody. Nobody wants to be on a board or on a staff and, oh, I don't get to do that, she does or he does. So it's important, if you want to be best practices fundraiser, then it's a team of some sort. You get to define what that is, right? You get to define what that is. And the way that you can learn about donors, and this is a tried and true, I'll tell you, I've done it for a long time, of how we get to know donors better to see if there's a connection for us. And here's what it's called. It's called form-ups. This acronym was created by a friend of mine, my late friend Barb, and so I know she's smiling at me right now. And it's called form-ups. And it's an acronym, as you can see, that talks about what characteristics of a donor do I need to know to really understand them and maybe help them understand a passion for my organization, right? So these are things that you could tell board members. These are things you can tell staff. These are things you yourself can find out about a donor. They're going to help you characterize this donor to see why they would be a great connection to you, right? So let's go over those really quick. Number F, or letter F, is for family and education. And most people love to talk about their families, right? Some people are private. They'll only tell you a little bit. But most people want to talk about their family, right? Regardless of their wealth. Sometimes people are really private, or they want to talk about their alma mater and their family. Oh, we all went to WSU. Oh, we're all dogs, right? We all go to woof woof, UW, or whatever. But normally, natural conversation evolves around family. Oh, I've got 3 kids, 2 grandkids. People just naturally want to talk about that, right? So it's important for us to understand what about their family, right? They've got 10 grandkids, and now they're on the great grandkids, or whatever it is. It's important to them. And if they share that with you, you're beginning to build a relationship. So O stands for occupation or business connections, right? And a lot of us define ourselves by our occupation. So people say, well, who are you now? Oh, I'm a VP with Amazon. No, you're not. You're just a nice woman that I met, and you're a grandma, but a lot of us don't do that, right? Who are you? I'm VP with Amazon. No, you're not. But so people will identify with that, and so you need to understand that that's important. So ask them, what do they do? What do they do? And is there something unique about their business connection that they can tell you? I'm a regional VP for Amazon, for East Asia, right? Find out what they do that's unique for them in a business. And there could be implications for you once you understand what their occupation is. The R stands for recreation and vacation. Everybody likes to take vacation. So you want to know what it is about them, where they take their family vacations. And unusual things, like there was a donor I had that had been to every continent, right? That's important to him on vacations. Some people like to visit all the art museums every time they go on vacation. These things will become important and surround the donor you're thinking about. So we fundraisers often look at people and go, form ups. Let me just think about who you, it bites you sometimes because you even meet a new person going, so what's your family? I'm not interviewing you, but you can't help yourself because that's how you learn about people. Whether you're dating people or a potential donor, this is kind of how you find out about people. The next one is mission connection and program passion. This is why this person, either you, your board member, or staff member, think that there's a connection to your mission. What was it about? They had a great aunt that was blind, and someone used to bring her books. There were no such things. Someone had to read to her. Or the symphony, they couldn't afford an instrument. And so it was important that when you started helping with that outreach program you had, this meant something to her. Right? There's all kinds of ways that people are connected. And one of the most important questions you can ask, especially in major gift fundraising, is why does our organization stand out to you? What's the connection? Did your grandmother give clothes to St. Vincent de Paul? Is that what it was? Or did your stepfather shop at St. Vincent de Paul during the war? Was that where he could get his clothes for not spend the money he didn't have? Right? There's always a connection. Someone doesn't just write a check. They have something inside of them, and your job as a fundraiser is to find out what it is. Your job is to find it out. And normally, people will share that openly and full of passion. They won't hide it from you because they've written a check, so it's meaningful to them. We just need to find out what that is. U stands for unique aspects. This is anything unique about them. For example, one of my donors at Multicare, her uncle was the inventor of WD-40. Yeah, that's kind of cool. You know WD-40, right? Squeak, squeak, yeah. One of my donors was the founding family members of Roman meal bread at Multicare, the Mattei family, right? So people don't always tell you up front, by the way, I invented Roman meal bread. They don't do that. Or my uncle invented, As the relationship continues, you find out. And you say things like, is there anything like unique in your family that's just your family? And all of a sudden you learn these things because you're curious and you're authentic. And so as the relationship is building and growing, don't be afraid to ask those questions because it's flattering for them. Oh, you want to know about me? Okay. And once the trust is established, they want to share. They want to share. P, philanthropic community priorities. This is what will bring you into a very deeper conversation. Because most people, most of your donors and potential donors, we like to say to give to at least 3 nonprofits, right? So they give to the church, they give to you, and they give to the PTA. They are happy to tell you why they do that. And you will find a common thread that will help you decide how you're going to steward this donor, right? What is it about the way that he or she gives now that can speak to what you're going to want from him or her in the future? That's your job, is to kind of create those, oh, they really like kids. They give to two people plus the symphony. But to the symphony, they just give at the gala. But, oh, we're doing reach out, right, to community for schools. I bet you she might be interested in that. And then goes your logic, right? This is just kind of how it weaves. The more you know about a donor and what interests them, and you find out about your programming, then you start to lay the building blocks, right? Okay. And then finally, the sphere of influence. Everybody has one. You'll hear donors say, oh, I don't know that many people. I just don't know them. And you think, oh, yes, you do. Because all of us, wherever we go, have a network of people that we play with, right? And that we have sphere of influence. It could be, these are the top 7 of what your sphere of influence is. And I don't have it written here, so if you want to write it down, I invite you to do that. There are 7 areas where you could talk to a donor where they have a sphere of influence, and they don't think this way. They don't think of it as this way because they don't think so highly of themselves. Sphere of influence sounds a little hoity-toity, and they go, oh, no, I don't really have any influence. Yeah, they do. The first one is everyday connections. So that's neighbors and schools, everyday people they see every day. The person who, neighbors who you put out your recycling together. That could be a gentleman that his great aunt was blind and never got the support she needed, right? You just don't know. Foundation and philanthropic connection is number 2. Foundation and philanthropic connection. That means people you sit on the board with, right? Who else is in the philanthropic world? Do you know them that way? Number 3 is voluntary and associated connections. So that's like service clubs. That's like Kiwanis. It's Rotaries. Those kind of folks. Voluntary and association connections. Could be, the pickleball club. Could be the book club, the investment club. Friends and family, right? Oftentimes you might say to a donor, so is there anyone in your family that feels strongly about audiobooks? That's a fair question when you're talking to a donor, because they already love you. They're already your donor. These are the people you should be talking to about this stuff, right? The 5th one is professional connections. So those are people in their business, right? People that are vendors of theirs that they have relationships with. All of a sudden they're sponsoring. That's a sponsorship potential for you. If one of your donors is, let's say, a regional vice president of a bank, he has a list or she has a list of vendors. Those vendors would be willing maybe to sponsor the symphony for their program in December. So when you have a donor that loves you, these are the kind of things you find out about him or her, right? Or they. Social connections, that's the clubs, the church members, the card club, poker people. I don't know if you play poker. So social connections, right? And then the last one, political and government connections. Before people became famous as politicians, they had friends. And maybe one of your donors is one of their friends. So you never know. So this might be helpful to you, yes? In kind of an easy way. Let me tell you my experience, what happened with this. When we work really hard, which I did too, just like you, at Multicare, I didn't always document in the software base like I should have. Does that sound familiar? You didn't write down what you learned, and when you leave or the person in front of you leaves, there's no institutional knowledge. So when I first learned about this, I had to sit down when I was leaving Multicare, because I love them to this day. I had to sit down, and 20 donors, like for 3 weeks or something, I had to sit down and in the software system write form-ups for people I knew. And it was all in my head, because I had done this for 10 years. I knew these people. They were like family members. So if you don't leave anything else tonight, do form-ups with your major donors, so that someone that comes behind you, or when you're strategically thinking about what to do with that donor, fill this out. And you probably, if you're close to your donors, can probably do this without any much. You can tell your 7 that they could be doing this, because this is the way to build fundraising strategy, because you learn to find out about things and people and how can I connect them. It sounds like a commercial for you should put your donor records in good working order, and it's true. But the reason to use it is because it helps you with strategy later. It truly does. It helped me raise millions, right? So do that because it's worth it. It's worth your time. I promise it's worth your time. Okay, so the next slide. Oh, this is my favorite. This is it right here. Have you ever heard of this before? The 7 types of donors? Oh, this is so fun. You're going to love these. This is a very fun thing to do. There we go. John, you can take one. This is a very old, like decades old, way of identifying donors for you that will help you. If we have extras and you want to take an extra one, you go right ahead.
Thanks.
Yep, I can see you asking the question. Yep, go right ahead. We'll just thank Angela because she did that for us. Okay, here we are, the 7 donor types. So look on the second page under the point. You see it about midway? It says the point. This is what it is. When you see board members, think of board members, gift approach team, staff, right? This is for everybody. It just says board members. It's in this book as well. And this was thought of years and years, decades ago, and it still holds true today. Board members or gift approach teams need to understand that what the donor types are so they can watch and listen for clues and meet the other person's emotional needs as they approach them for support. Use words and methods that suit them. Tailor your case for support to them. Rather than using a one-size-fits-all message and approach, board members or gift approach teams love learning this information. This is a fun thing, right? So we're going to talk about that. So let's go to the front of the page again, and let's find out who these donors are. And what's fun now is you're going to recognize yourself. And you're going to recognize your donors and your family and your cousin, because you know donors, right? So here's the first one, altruistic, right? They give because why? Just like John helps, because it's the right thing to do. That's what we're supposed to do. That's why we're on the planet. You hear people say that all the time. Why? Can't imagine my life not giving to others, the community, or whatever cause it is, right? So that's altruistic. And by the way, you can have blends of these. You can be a little altruistic and an event donor, right? You like to go to parties, but you do it because it's the right thing to do, right? Number 2 is the communitarian. That's the one that just wants their community to benefit. I love this. This is a little bit of me. It's not a lot of me, but it's a little bit of me. Like when my boy was raised and out of school and in college and all that, I'm still giving to the local school because someone gave to us when we needed it, right? That's what a communitarian does. They give to the community because the community needs them, whether they use it anymore or not, right? Really important. There's a lot of donors like this, a lot of donors. We'll talk about the percentage in a minute. Devout. Yep, these are the people that are devout to a particular cause or a group. The baby boomers like me, we're devout about some things. It could be about where you went to school. It could be, sometimes it's the church or Susan G. Komen or, right, the Humane Society. It doesn't matter who's the staff. If they send them anything, if they don't pay attention to them, by God, they give to them. That's what a devout donor type is. It's just in their DNA. And what we have to do when we get close to them is understand that and say, good on you. Isn't it wonderful that you always give to the Humane Society? And I noticed that you gave to your uncle's obituary, give to the Humane Society. That's so lovely because that's how they think, right? So this helps us understand how donors operate mentally and what environment we need to give them to feel an impact of their gift. That's the reason. Not a guessing game. We're going to actually use this strategically when we ask for a gift approach. Okay? Then there's the dynasty. I'm not a part of this, just so you know. The Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Bill and Melinda Gates. I'm not in this class at all. Now it's Bill or Melinda Gates. It's changed. Yeah. Kind of cool. The Bezos, whatever. But these are the people that this is how they give. Yeah, they belong to a long list of wealthy individuals. And if you're in the family, you are a philanthropist. That's just the bottom line there. Yeah. And you go back and read these, they're kind of fun. The next one is the investor. That's the ROI person. That's the person that says, you're talking about the gift and all of that, and then you bring out the financial page and they're like this. Okay, that works out, yeah. Or if somebody says there's a new program, and he played the clarinet in high school, and he's excited about it, he will say to you, but do you have the numbers of the program? Do you have the pro forma? Right? I'm a little bit of an ROI girl, because I was in finance, a little bit of IT, because I want to know the numbers. Like, you're nice and all, but what are you expecting? Where's my gift going to be used, and what percentage of it's going to be used? And these are the things that donors want to know. Not because they're being a hard ass to you, which sometimes as fundraisers think so, like, really, you're going to make me go through those hoops? Because that happens. But it's how they operate. You have to give them room to operate the way they are. And an ROI donor can be as nice and sweet, and at the very last minute say, I don't see the financials here. All of a sudden you think, uh-oh, I didn't recognize that, right? But you can always go back to an investor type donor, always, and they like it. And really, I have one donor who we do a presentation, I've done this like multiple times with multiple clients, and he always has questions they don't have answers for. And so and you think we know, but he comes up with questions on ROI that I think, well, I don't know that. And so they go back and do work, and they give it to him, and he always gives. But he will not give to you unless you answer the numbers question for him. And I mean, they do due diligence, comparison charts. I mean, they're not just, here's the one number. It's a summary. But he always gives. But you have to give him the way he operates, right? Then there's the repayer. We had a lot of these in the hospital where I worked, right? You saved my mother, Mary Bridge. You saved my child one time. Big group of repayers. Sometimes that can be, as it says here, Boys and Girls Club, right? Hospice programs. I don't think many donors don't give to hospice until they have an experience. And then when they have one, they can't help but give because they know, right? It's a lot of times you have to have an experience that you're repaying for. So it's pretty impressive. And here's my favorite. Yep. The socialite, we call them the event donor. Where am I sitting? Who am I sitting with? How many weeks do I have before I get a new outfit? Are we going to have wine at the table? Because we have to have wine at the table before we put our cards up. I mean, this event donor is so fun. Yeah, we live for event donor. I'm a little bit of an event donor. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yep. You mean like
Match an altruist to an altruist, match an investor to an investor, somebody who talks numbers?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Right? If you've got for example, ROI certainly works that way. An event works that way. If you're sitting down with a donor and they don't get to talk about the gala, you're hurting yourself.
Okay.
Because you're going to go like, did you see the theme? I love that theme when they could talk about it.
Because in each of my groups, I can go, okay, this person would hurt that person, this
you
person
kind of
would
know.
hurt that person.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The part where it gets a little bit tricky is when you have combinations. Yes. Right? And so you learn them by how? Form-ups. You're learning about the donor, so then you learn about how they give, and then you're ascertaining what. Here's a good exercise for you, I think. Think of 2 or 3 questions of how you would word a question based on the type of donor it is, right? Once you get a little more familiar with this, you go back and read it, give that yourself exercise, or give it to your board, or give it to your staff. Okay, or impersonate a donor, like you're really a hard ROI person. And make somebody on the staff go, well, how would you talk to me? It gives you experience on how to live through where they are. If you look at the bottom, it gives you the percentage, and it hasn't changed much, right? The top donor type is a communitarian because they want their community to benefit, right? That makes perfect sense. And close behind is the devout. Doing good is God's will. That's kind of a paraphrase there. Investors, doing good business. The socialite or event, doing good is fun. And believe me, Multi-Care does $2 million a year every year with an event. 2 events, right? So it's fun, and it's also great revenue. So sometimes you can't get rid of that one. Repayer, paying something good in return. Altruistic, you do it because it feels right. That's what's supposed to happen. And then the dynasty, of course, because how many dynasties are there? That's an 8%. So it's kind of fun. Have fun with this when you see that's joyful fundraising right there. You get to have fun with the kind of, and then ask yourself, who am I? Do you kind of know, just talking about this for a minute, do you know who you are? Do you see yourself in one of those? Do you see a combo?
I'm a devout,
You're a devout?
past devout,
You're a devout?
past.
Oh, past devout. Okay. Do we have any socialites? We have any events, people?
Okay.
Okay. Fine. We need event people, right? We need not only event people as donors, we need event people in the planning. Because how can you match an expectation of an event person if you yourself don't know what a good event is? And all the little things that you do, believe me, event donors, oh, I noticed that on the table. So cute. They notice the prices if it's an auction. Well, these are a little high. I was looking for, oh, these are perfectly priced. I got 3 of them. Oh, yeah, but that's how we talk. That's how we talk. We take our shoes off at the end of the night. We woo. Oh, yeah, we have a great time. But we raise money, and we know that's important. So we have 2 glasses of wine and then put our paddle up. That's what we do. You don't have galas anymore without liquor. Liquor helps us be more event people. Just how it works, right? Right. Okay, good. So keep that. That's kind of fun for you to understand as you raise money. All right. We are on the 3rd and final A, are we? We are, aren't we? Hot dog. I'm hoping this is enough time for you as I'm finishing up, yeah? I hope so. Okay.
We can stay till 9.
That's such a nice compliment. That's such a nice compliment. Thank you for that. But no, this is our last slide here, and then we'll open it up if you had any questions. Act as an asker, the 3rd A. So sometimes it might be you making the gift approach, or it's someone on your staff or one of your board members. The important is that an asker can be someone that opens the door, doesn't have to do the gift approach. You as the main person may be doing the asking, and that person next to you is your support team, right? Your support team. So they may want to open a door for connection, make a phone call for you, write a note. They're important to you as a fundraising team. So when you say asker, it's not always for the gift, it's for the connection. I think it's a really good idea to partner on a gift approach. I rarely ever ask for a gift one-on-one. We always go with 2 in major gift planning. There's safety in numbers, I know, but we actually do, and you'll be seeing it if you come to our 3 classes, how we do a gift approach. What do we use? What do we say? How does it work? It's just my favorite thing to do and my favorite thing to teach, because a consultant taught me back in 2005, and I said, this is it? This is all you got to do? And it's all we did, and we raised a lot of money. So it's tried and true. And the other thing I would leave you with is, don't be afraid or cautious about sharing your passion. Don't be quiet. Don't be, oh, I shouldn't say that. Or that's not my job. Or I'm out of my lane. No, and no. Share your passion whenever you can. Your organization needs it. It's fundamentally a best practice. People who are excited about their passion of the organization, these are the successful fundraisers. You don't find successful fundraisers who are like, if you had a chance, maybe you could look at our brochure, or, I don't know if you have any extra money, but we could use it by year end. None of that. You don't have to worry about any of that. If you show the passion of your organization, people are going to be drawn to you. And people want to make a difference. And we'll talk about that later in some of our workshops, but people want to know they're making a difference. And if you're talking about an urgent need, and you're talking about how your organization is a solution, and why it means so much to you with that passion we just talked about, how can they say no to you? They can't say no. Very rarely would a donor go, I don't think so. They might not be the exact amount that you asked for, but if you have this discipline lined up, you kind of know the donor, you know the background of the donor, you did your due diligence, and you're in front of them and you're showing them this passion and there's a need and they could help be the solution, very rarely will people go, I am not interested. That doesn't happen that way. That doesn't happen. What we get disappointed is the dollar amount. But we shouldn't be, because it's just the first gift or the second gift. And then give a good sustainable relationship, then there's another gift, right? So that works out well. Any questions before I turn it over to Dr. Angela that I could answer for you?
Did you find a lot of donor fatigue with your tenure?
Not one bit. Donor fatigue, I'll share it this way. A lot of people, when COVID came, thought there was going to be donor fatigue. Like, I can't even leave my house. Why would I ask you or talk to you about a gift? I had about 5 or 6 clients during COVID. Only one of them decided to raise money during COVID. The rest of them gave up. Like, no one's going to talk to us. They barely have a mask on. Virtually, we don't know how to do Zoom. We haven't done that before. I can't leave the house. Oh my God, I'm worried about my kids. I'm teaching them math. I don't even know math anymore. I mean, they were all involved in their own lives in those organizations. One organization, United Way of Pierce County, was in the middle of a campaign. They had raised $2 million. They were going to $7 million. We raised $4 million during the year of COVID. You know why? Because the passion for United Way with those donors was there. All we had to do was connect. And you know how much you wanted to connect during COVID? You just wanted to go, what are you doing? You know, through the virtual, when you got the Zoom, we were ready, we rehearsed, we did practices, and then we asked, but people still gave. So there was really not even fatigue socially with COVID. So the only time you have donor fatigue, in my mind, is some passion is lost by the one who's setting the stage or setting the table, or you keep asking for the same thing and don't show impact for the donor. The donor doesn't get fatigue. The fundraiser gets fatigue. The program gets fatigued, right? But if you're excited about what you're doing and you need their money and they already have a heart for you, they don't get fatigued. Now, someone who gives $100,000 for 6 years, and the 7th year they only give 80, that's not donor fatigue, it's they're managing their money, right? So when people say donor fatigue, I don't know what they really mean. I've been working as a fundraiser since 1998, and I've never heard a donor go, I'm just tired of giving. They don't say that. They get mad at an organization and don't give anymore. And then we call it, oh, they're donor fatigue, they gave to us for a long time. Really? And they just all of a sudden stop giving. Huh? Right? So people call it something, but I don't know a donor that's ever used it. When it didn't have to do with a fundraiser that was disappointing, didn't do their homework, changed the story, right? So donors don't get tired of giving. It's who they are.
Well, I think one of the things, the difference between all the years with Komen, it raised so much money.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say it was an easy sell.
Kind of.
But it was a heartstring, and there's somebody that was connected, either your mother or you were just diagnosed, whatever.
That's right.
And I look at the symphony, and I look at the group, and they're all, I'm old, but they've been donating forever, and now they're downsizing, and now they're not attending, and now they're not. Right. We don't have youth coming in or techies coming in to fill that void.
That's right.
And that's not really donor fatigue.
No, that's not.
But it's another, I don't know where you...
That's in board recruitment, right? That is, the Symphony of Tacoma had these same problems. And they made a strategic plan that included, and it helped the fundraising plan, right? I was their consultant for a year, so I know. And we did training out of this book. So there are barriers in here that people say, well, nobody younger is going to care for the symphony. Well, that is not true. The goals were just ill-defined, right? It wasn't donor fatigue. It was, where are we going to get youth on our board? Do they have to be perfect and give 6-figure gifts? No. They can give $100 and be about the best commercial you've ever had for the symphony, because they have parents and they have relatives and they have those spheres of influence, right? If their passion's in, this generation of younger people want to be involved. Yeah. So you engage them and they are singing like birds on top of the mountains for people. But that's not how boards in the old days were. Right. So there has to be some switching around. Yeah. Mimi, you had a question?
I was asking about time of year. Does it make more sense to ask at the beginning of the year, mid-year, end of the year?
Any old time.
So many people don't
Yeah.
itemize anymore. That
Right.
It used to be before 11:30 you had to ask.
That's right. That's a really good question. Where calendar plays the most important part is annual fund, Because the myth is, but it's not really a myth, it's true. People have a more giving heart November, December. They do. They do in the colder months, depending on your cause, right? They don't want anyone to be cold or hungry. And so, for example, Tacoma Rescue Mission makes the majority of their money October, November, December. So annual fund, cause-related, will be in the fourth quarter of the year, but it is anybody's calendar beside that. Major gifts. It's nice if you can do it by year end, but I've been raising money with donors like that for a long time, and I've never said, you know, I want to do it before December. That isn't how donors think. But for annual fund, it's important. Yeah, I mean.
But we lose the summertime. You know, we survive most of the time on those two.
Yeah.
But then when you get to August and September, we're like, you know.
Eking through.
So that's when we were like, okay, now this is a time to have an event,
There you go.
right, to fill that gap.
Yeah. Or a
So-
program or a campaign where you go see 10 donors.
Right.
And raise money one-on-one and
Right.
build a campaign for yourself. I bet you learn twice as much as you do at the event,
An event, okay.
right? Events, a lot of work, a lot of money.
Well, I found out I can do an online auction for $60.
Well, okay. Okay. And if that's how your 1,300 will react, let's try.
Maybe, we'll see. So I had a lady that donated prayer shawls. She's 90 years old, totally blind, made prayer shawls. So the story goes with the prayer shawls
That's
and the
fabulous.
picture, and that's how we raise money.
I love it.
So,
Yeah.
We have people who still want a paper ticket.
Yes,
In a
there
certain
are those people.
demographic.
I'm one of
And
those.
then the other groups that only want a QR code, they don't want to have to keep track of it, they just want to come to the door and say, I'm on your list.
Yeah. Sign of the times, my friend. You got to offer both. And we're talking about younger donors, younger board members. I mean, I have a friend who's she just turned 50. I might be older than her. And when I go to a lunch, I'm an old-fashioned girl. I like to write the check or my Visa card. I'm out of checks now, but I do the Visa card. And she is right. She can't do her phone fast enough to the QR code. So it's not just the 20s and the 30s. It's the 40s and the 50s who have capacity who are doing the same. So you've got to get somebody on your fundraising team that gets it. Yeah, you can't ignore it anymore. Even though we all like paper, there's a lot more that are not liking paper. I did a board meeting last night, and this guy, I bet he was 70 if he was a day. I think that's young. And he didn't have a piece of paper around him. He had his computer on his lap just going like this. Wow. See it all the time now.
Amazing.
Yeah, so you gotta step that up, Mimi. Tell your people they gotta step in.
All right, Linda Kay, she's amazing. Let's give her a big yay, go Linda. And there's more. We have 2 more Thursdays to go, and Linda will be sharing more knowledge. So now that you're pumped up and you can't wait to go figure out like who your donors might be, what makes them tick, let's talk about other funding options. There is more. There's always more. So we're going to talk a little bit about crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is a whole bunch of people, hopefully, putting some money in a pool to help you, whatever your cause is. So there's some pros to it. It's not a bank. You don't have to go through a lot of hoops. It builds engagement. You raise money quickly, you hope, right? And no debt. So cons, it's kind of hard. There's a lot of people out there asking for money. How do you fit in? How do you get more? It's labor intensive. So just think about what Linda went through. If you're driving people to your crowdfunding platform, you have to ask a lot of people and get their attention and ask them to support you for whatever you're doing. That's a lot of work. You got to have some hustle there, right? So that's where your passion, your alignment, your impact to your organization or your cause comes in, right? And platforms charge fees. They're like, hey, we want you to be successful. And if you're successful, we're going to take a cut, right? So keep in mind that's an option for you, depending on what you want to raise. Okay. So community philanthropy. Okay, I love this. So as you know, I'm probably a talker. Linda Kay and I can go on and on, especially if there's some wine involved. So community philanthropy. I really love this because I like to give and know that my dollars make impact. So there are 2 organizations here, and just for fun, we put in QR codes. These slides will be emailed out. But there is the South Sound 100 Giving Group, and there's the Tacoma Black Fund. So both organizations do things similarly. People donate at least $100 a quarter, maybe more if they can. It goes into a pot of money. These groups have quarterly meetings, and out of a hat, people pick an organization. So for South Sound 100, the organizations they're picking are all nonprofits, right? Those nonprofits just showed up, or the board members that are part of South Sound Giving showed up and nominated a nonprofit, and randomly, just like a toss of a coin, poof, they might get selected. If they get selected, they have like 5 to 10 minutes to talk about their group and why do you want to give. So think about Linda's words of wisdom. When you want to talk about your impact message to a group of people you don't know very well, but in that group, there could be 100 people that want to give, you need to tell them why and how, and please give more if you can. So my husband and I just did this a week ago. We were able to pitch the Rise Center. We were randomly drawn, and Rise got $19,000 at the South Sound 100 last giving event. The great thing is that I'm a member. I donate about $200 a quarter. We were surprised when they picked us. We're like, this never happens. We never get to talk in front of people. And it was amazing. And so with this group, they also can get a $5,000 matching grant from Best Buy. So $19,000 was raised from that 5 to 10 minute conversation I had in that room with those folks. And afterwards, somebody wrote a $100 check, right? Because they wanted it to go to Rise. Other people said, how do I get involved? So I would say, look up South Sound 100. See, it's a Puget Sound-based group. See where they're going. If you want your dollars to work, like your $100 a quarter to stretch, that's a great cause. So let's kind of switch over to the Tacoma Black Fund. This is a similar flavor, but very different as well. The Tacoma Black Fund is the same thing, community-led philanthropy. People donate, and anyone can donate. Great. So to be part of like the group that votes, you have to be a Black-owned business or a Black-owned nonprofit or a Black person. So this is specifically for Black-led businesses and Black-led nonprofits. Same thing. They have quarterly meetings. They have people sign up in advance. There's 4 people that can talk, and then they can talk about what this money would do for their business or nonprofit. So I've been a few of these events. I have seen like a local gym get picked, and also a local boxing ring get picked. And it's so great to be in this room. The vibe here, so like South Sound 100 will be a glass of wine kind of crowd. Tacoma Black Fund feels like an amazing family barbecue, right? You just got a lot of people happy to support the community. People walk away with at least $10,000, and sometimes people that presented get a little bit of money too. So that's a great way, low barrier way to get involved, to talk about your cause. And there's probably other groups here in King County. So I would reach out and see what's out there. This money is unrestricted and accessible. Okay, funding options. We're going to go back to a zero interest loan. So similar to like crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, you have Kiva. You might see Kiva online. You can put in kiva.com. So you can fill out your profile for your organization or cause. And if it gets selected, you have a certain period of time to raise money. Maybe it's a month, 2 months. Again, you're driving people to support you. And the money that you get can be put into your business or cause. And then obviously you get to pay that back, zero interest, but it helps you get started. So I would say if you're looking for non-traditional, non-bank lending options that are low barrier, check out Kiva. And this is one of our team members, Julie, who had some for her kombucha business. Okay. Asking people. So I don't know where these people fall on your list. Linda Kay, where do angel investors and venture capitalists? Are these our ROI folks, our return on investment folks? Okay. So if you are, and there, you can find angel investors or venture capitalists out there. There are groups. You can use the power of Google or Bing and find out who's investing. But they get asked a lot for money. And so if you're going to look at angel investors or venture capitalists, these guys, these groups are looking to fund you, but they want a piece of the pie. And the pie is your business or your cause or however they want a piece of it, right? So if it's a nonprofit, they want to probably be named, like I donated to X and I made this happen. They want to be recognized. If it's a business that you're trying to get money for, they might want a return of some of the revenue that you're going to earn in the future. So I would say make sure your financials are strong, your business case statement is clear, and really understand who you may want to invite into your business. You might not want to have, you might be totally independent and not have any of these folks in your business because they might have a stake of how you grow and how you work. So, but there are funding options. Okay, lenders. So when you're starting out, it's hard. Banks may or may not be your friend. And when you're starting out, banks love to do risk assessments. They do it all the time. But they like to invest in folks or groups that are more established. So if you're looking for non-traditional lenders, look to these organizations here. They tend to step in and help when a bank may not. And Business Impact Northwest, Craft 3, Verity Credit Union, and Rainier Valley Community Development Fund. All of these are pretty close or not, may also be in King County. So please look them up and approach them. And there is an application process. They will have a vetting process, but they also can be great supporters of your cause. All right. That was my little seasoning to Linda's amazing presentation. So any questions for us? We're here. We can ask as a group or talk one-on-one after we wrap up. Linda Kay, a question for you. What was the amount of the first gift you raised?
Oh my gosh.
Do you remember?
I can, well, I was at United Way and I was in marketing, so I had no business even asking somebody for money. And what they have at United Way, they have it in every United Way, so they have it in King County as well. They call it the Alexis de Tocqueville donor, and it's $10,000 or more. And so in my marketing, I got to get friendly with this board member. He is in heaven now. Bob McGee from Tote, as who he was. And I really liked him, and he really liked me. And one of the vice presidents said to me, I was the VP of marketing, this other guy was the VP of fundraising, and he said, I think you should ask him for a $10,000 gift. I said, get out of here. I'm not asking him for a gift. I'm the marketing person. He goes, no, the relationship is with you and him. That's where the relationship is. I said, I can't do it. And he said, oh, you can do it, and we're going to do it together. So we went to a bar, what a surprise, had a glass of wine, and I was so nervous. I thought my heart is going to leap out of my body. I didn't know when to ask. We weren't very good because we didn't practice. We didn't figure it out. I didn't know anything, but I learned a lot from the experience. I know what to do now. So we were sitting in the bar, and Bob turns over and he goes, so did you want to ask me something? I said, so he knew. And I said, well, maybe I do. He goes, I think you do. And I said, oh my God. I said, Bob, you are so, and this part was authentic. I didn't know I was going to say it. I told him how much I loved him. I did. I cried like a baby at his funeral because it was sudden. I said, you are just the epitome of what a nice guy does for his community. He brought employees in. He made lunch for people. He was just a wonderful human. And I said, you're just a wonderful human, and I think you have the capacity, and I'd like you to share it with United Way. Did not know what I was doing. And he said, okay. I go, you mean okay? He goes, the guy next to me goes, he said okay. And I went, oh, okay. I was just so new. I didn't really know. And so I learned so much since then, but it was the relationship that got that gift. And he excused me for my ignorance and my naivete. But I will never forget it. I will never forget that gift. Yeah, and then the gifts became bigger and bigger. My largest gift was $5 million. And it was a legacy gift for a man whose wife has MS. And he wanted to leave it to the research of the hospital to solve that problem, or to work on that problem, or make new technologies so we could fix MS. And I wasn't nearly as nervous with that one. Right, because I knew he'd been my donor for a long time. I knew what he wanted. I was friends with them. That's a hard part when you're in our business, is you want to be friends with everybody, and you can't be. But there are still, one of my favorites is 91 years old, and I see her probably 4 times a year. I can't give her up, right? So there are going to be some you can't give up, and don't do it. and don't do it. Yeah. So yeah, there's,
So
yeah.
Are you a believer in personal thank you notes?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. You know, I'm going to tell you a story that happened at the symphony. So at the symphony, there were mostly older ladies on the board. I know, a surprise. A couple of older men, mostly older ladies, who just were lovely, just lovely in their 80s and their 90s. And there was a particular woman who was a city councilwoman, and she was 90 years old. Harold Moss is her name. And as I was teaching the class, she saw me and hugged me, but I didn't think she really remembered me. She had been with her husband, who's also deceased, a United Way co-chair of the campaign. But I was just a little tiny marketing person then. They didn't even know me. I didn't know them. And as I rose, they went on with other things. And so I'm in the class, and we have a couple of classes, and she's just delightful. And I hug her every time I see her. Hug her goodbye, hug her hello. And the next time I come in, she said, Linda Kay, I'd like to talk to you for a minute. I thought, I'm in trouble. You could just tell by the way she said it, like I'm in trouble. I said, well, okay, what can I do for you? We've got a few minutes before the board meeting starts. She goes, I want to show you something. I said, okay. She brings out a piece of paper that is stationary at Multicare with my name on it. And it was tied to an annual report, and I didn't know her. And it was my handwriting. I have to be really careful so people can read it. And it said, Dear Harold, it was so meaningful to me, even though I haven't met you, that you continue to give to our hospital. The kind of changes that you're making possible. And she kept the note. That was 2023, and I wrote that note in 2005. So in the part where I talk about thank you notes, she goes, I thought you might want to use this. I write thank you notes like nobody's business. People don't get tired of it. They save them. I think it's an authentic way to say thank you to someone that doesn't look like everybody else's.
It's a lost art too, because you can tell when you get a boilerplate one.
Right? It's almost demotivates you when you get it. Because you look and see if the handwriting, a machine did it or somebody did it, right? Now we're suspicious. Because I don't think you can, my mother taught me to write thank you notes. I mean, when your birthday came, we had to write the 5 or 6 my whole life.
Yeah.
So
You have to thank you before you ate it, broke it, or
that's right.
spent it.
That's right. And so, you know, she believes in it too. Susan Howlett does. And she believes in board members writing them.
Yeah.
Yeah? Not only staff, board members, volunteers. Volunteers to coffee, volunteers to go to an event together. Right? There's a lot of ways you can thank a donor that doesn't have to lead right to a gift, just a relationship that you're building. And that's what a thank you note does. We don't want a relationship where we just ask you for money all the time, because what value does that give a donor? I mean, you just want to be known for your $100 you give or $300 a year you give or whatever. It doesn't feel good. I think people can write beautiful emails. I do believe that you can do that. It's not my preference. It's not what I teach. It just means more to me to get a handwritten note and a handwritten address. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, one of my clients is Habitat for Humanity, and we took a lady out to lunch, and then the Habitat lady got sick, so the note was like a week late. And she said, Linda Kay, I was going to mail it, but I didn't have any stamps, and I got sick, and I just couldn't put it through the machine. I said, good choice. I'll take it. I have endangered turtles at home. I'm going to use one of those stamps, because she didn't want to make it non-personal with a stamp. I mean, go through a stamp machine rather than a live stamp, because donors notice. Well, again, thank you all for coming. Hope to see you again.